probably the most patriotic family that lives in Muleshoe, of course, here in Texas, are Susie and Joe Vela. And they have not only sent off to the military serving our country in wartime as well as peacetime 8 children, but they have 13 children. And I think that that is remarkable. Now, Joe, you served in the military, but this military service in your family didn't really start with you. Who was the first one in your family, Joe Vela, who served our country?
That was my uncle from Gregory, Texas. Went to World War I. That's where he lost his life.
And what was his name?
Pablo Martinez.
Pablo Martinez. He was your mother's brother. Right?
My mother's brother, right.
What was your mother's name?
Regina Martinez.
Regina Martinez Vela. And so he was in what branch, and where did he die?
He was in the infantry, and he died in France.
In France. In World War I. Now, you went also into what branch of the service, Joe?
Into the Army.
In the Army. And what year did you go into the service?
I was 45, came out in 46. I think that's the way it was.
So that was right at the end of World War II.
Right, correct.
Did you go overseas?
No, I didn't.
And so when you were rearing here in Muleshoe all these 13 children, did you talk to them about your military service?
No, actually I didn't. Joe Jr. is the one that started it. He was the first one that went to Vietnam, and then it looked like I let it. Just everybody keep following him.
Now, how many Joes do you have in your family?
3. Joe Sr., Joe Jr., and Joe the Third.
And Joe Jr. lives where?
Houston.
In Houston. And then his son is Joe the Third.
Correct.
And he lives where?
In Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay. Now, Susie, as a mother, when you sent your sons and your daughter off to the service, how did you feel?
I was very proud of them, but I really, I was
scared.
I was scared for them, but at the same time, I was very proud that they wanted to serve their country.
That's right. Now, Joe's here visiting, right?
Joe will be here today from Houston.
And who else?
And, of course, David, who is here, and his son. And I think Ernie couldn't make it. Ernie couldn't make it. And, but like I was telling you, I'm very proud of my children. They all followed in Joe Jr.'s footsteps, well, his dad. And I just felt very proud, but at the same time, very scared.
Right. That's a mother. Now, come on, Joe, and say that you were a little bit concerned, too.
I wasn't concerned. I was scared.
I love it. That's great.
Matter of fact, during that storm, I was scared for the boys, and they took my girl.
Yeah. I know. Well, you know, I have to talk about the girl. She worked for my dad.
She did.
She was in high school.
She was in high school.
Christine.
And Ernie did too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. I don't, but I have to tell you about Christine. She was employed like an adult. I mean, she took everything seriously, and she did everything correctly, and very dependable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, she always was very, very independable, and she was she wanted to do everything perfect ever since she was little, and she was in high school. She was just, I'm so proud of her.
I know you are. Now, were you born, Susie?
I was born in Lubbock.
In Lubbock. And so you're a West Texan.
Oh, yes. I'm a West Texan.
And who were your parents?
My dad was Joe Vella, Joe Carrasco. Joe Carrasco.
So you've had two Joes.
Yes, and
Well, more than two because you've got four.
yes, yeah,
that's
exactly. And then my mother was Rachel Olivas Carrasco.
And now, so did you grow up in Lubbock?
I grew up in Lubbock.
Uh-huh. And were your brothers or sisters, how many did you have?
I had one brother and 4 sisters.
Anybody go into the military in your family?
No, not that I know of. I never knew they did.
Uh-huh.
But, well, my family did, you know.
Yes,
My big family.
yes, they certainly did. Now, Joe, why did you come to Muleshoe?
I came to Muleshoe because I came to work for T.L. Timmons, and they transferred me from Lubbock to Muleshoe. I was laying this pipeline for this underground farmers. Well, I mean, for the farmers. And that's when I got to
Irrigation pipeline?
correction. Yeah,
And that was at Brown Supply.
exactly. That's right.
And so that was what year that you came from Lubbock to Muleshoe?
In 1956.
56. So, Susie, how big was the baby of the family at that time?
When we moved here,
Yes.
the baby was Danny. Danny, who was 6 months old.
6 months old. And who was older than Danny?
Tony.
Tony. So you had two only.
Yes. No, I had Joe.
Oh, of course, Joe.
Joe and Bobby was the second
Okay,
one,
Joe, Bobby, Tony, and Danny,
and Susan.
and Susie. Is that right? When you all moved here.
It was Joe, Bobby, Susan, and Daddy.
Okay, when you moved here.
Yes,
Okay.
right.
And so, did you ever think I'm going to have a lot more?
I didn't think I was. Not on the plans, Megan, but you know, I was so proud of my children, and they all helped. They all helped when they were in grammar school till they grew up in high school and went off to college.
Now, there was a time that you all were keeping grandchildren when some of your children and in-laws were in where?
There's a storm.
In Desert Storm.
Yeah,
in Iraq.
we took our grandson Alex Domesky.
And how old was Alex?
He was 3 weeks old.
Oh, my goodness.
And my daughter and my son-in-law had to go to war at Desert Storm, and we went to Copper's Cove, and we picked him up, brought him to Muleshoe.
And how long did you all keep your grandson?
We kept him until she got out. If she came back from the war, Desert Storm, and it was 6 months.
6 months.
So it was almost over when she came back home.
So now, when you had him, his mother and his father were in Iraq.
Right.
And so now, what's his daddy's name?
His name is Howard Nemetsky.
And so that was Christine and Howard Nemetsky, who were both in Desert Storm at the same time, both serving in the same branch of the service.
That's right.
And which branch were they in?
They were in the Army.
And so now Howard has just sworn in his son. Is that Alex?
No, that's Austin.
Austin, okay. The little one. And so where is Austin today?
He's in Georgetown. He wouldn't go in till next month in August.
In August. He'll go into the service. So at the present time, how many immediate family members do you all have in the service?
Well, right now it's Tyler, Vella, is Ernie's boy, and then Austin when he goes in.
Two grandsons.
2 grandsons.
Okay, so you've had 8 children, and how many grandchildren who've served?
4.
4.
Jeffrey, Tyler, and Mike Garcia, and now Austin.
So you have actually in your immediate descendants 12 children and grandchildren who have or are serving in the military. And I think that is commendable. And some of them are here right now already for the 4th of July. And we're going to pass the microphone, Susie, down to your son and grandson, and they're going to introduce themselves and tell about your military experiences, okay? You want to just pass it down? Thank you, Susie.
Okay, my name is David Vella, and you want me to look at the camera? Okay, all right, great. My name is David Vella, and I served 24 years in the military. I started off in 1987 with the 101st Airborne Division, and I did 4 years with them, and then I decided to get out, go to college, and I joined the Army National Guard. And I stayed in the Army National Guard, did different deployments with them, and this past October of 2012, I decided to go ahead and retire. That was enough time for me, but I handed it over the reins to my son Jeff here, and he also joined the military as well. So I'm gonna let him talk about it.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Vella. I joined the military right out of high school. I had 3 days right after I graduated in 2005, and I was left to basic training. And then I left for my first deployment in 2000. Well, I got ready for my first deployment in 2008 and deployed to Iraq in 2009. And then I just got back from my last deployment, which I was in Kosovo. I was there from 2010 to 2012. And my last day was May of this year, May 1st in 2013, and that was my 8 years, and I got out.
What are you doing now, Jeffrey?
Right now I'm going back to school, back at WT in Canyon, Texas, and just working there.
And what's your mother's name?
My mother's name is Rosie Vella.
If I asked her what she thought about all this military in your family, what would she say?
She would probably say that she was very proud of us. It was very difficult for her. My dad also deployed in 2009 to Iraq, and we were together during that time. So she had two of her her husband and her oldest son gone at the same time.
Now, hand it back to David for a minute. David, what year did you graduate from Muleshoe High School?
In 1986.
And so right after high school, what did you do?
Well, that was what I did after.
Right into the military.
Yeah, because I tried college, and college wasn't for me at the time. So I thought, man, I better do something different. So I went ahead and joined the Army, and that straightened me up really quick. So, and after my time on active duty, I was able to say, I have enough money and enough discipline so I can go back to college. And I ended up graduating from college, and then I went ahead and kept going a little further with college, and now I'm finishing my second master's right now.
And where do you live?
I live in Canyon, Texas.
In Canyon.
Yes.
Okay. And so how many are in your family?
I have Jeff is my oldest, and then I have a daughter who's 24, and then Eric's in the back room right here. He just turned 15.
Okay. And what's your daughter's name?
Her name is Regina.
Regina.
Yes.
Okay. Pass it back to
Sure.
your mother. And now, have you thought about, Susie, how many have gone into the service and served during wartime? Do you know how many? Most of them, or what do you think, David?
Most of them.
Most of them. My
Brothers and sisters. Your brothers and sisters.
Okay, that would be Joe, who started off in Vietnam.
Oh, here, go.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Sorry, I should ask.
No, my brother Joe was in Vietnam, and then it went to let's see, Ernie. Ernie did 2 tours in Iraq. My sister Christine, she did a tour in Desert Storm, and then went to Afghanistan not too long ago, and then of course myself went to Iraq, and just that's it right now. But the brothers that went to, and my sister that went overseas to do a combat tour.
You're the one that's so bad. The rest of them were like Charlie.
Start over, Joe.
Oh, you also battle.
We went in combat.
Yeah.
The other ones served.
Yeah, served like Charlie was in Germany for 8 years, and then the rest of the family went overseas, but they didn't see
Not action. Yes. Okay. Now we've talked about these who have served in the military. There's more. So let's talk about. I'll let Susie tell the girls. We've talked about Christine. You got the easy job, didn't you? Tell about the other two girls.
Well, my daughter, my youngest daughter, is Becky Albertson. She lives in Arlington, and she's got four kids. The oldest is, I don't know if you ever knew him. He went to school here for a while. Chris, you know, the Albertsons. And he lives in Arlington. And then there's Cameron. He just finished high school, and then she's got a 17-year-old girl, and the youngest is 15.
And that's all of the Albertsons' children.
Yes.
Okay, and so tell me about Susie.
Susan is, right now, she just moved to California. And she likes it. She likes it over there. It's so beautiful. But she misses where she stayed most of her time in Houston. And she grew up here, graduated from Muleshoe High, and we are so proud of them because I was blessed with 13 children, and they all wanted to educate themselves and just finish school and go to college and finish and keep on going. And I'm so proud of them. This one's got 2
Degrees.
You have 3, 1 bachelor and 2.
In December, I'll have 3.
You'll have 3.
Well,
one bachelor and 2 masters.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's
now,
wonderful.
Susie, I don't want to embarrass you, but how far in school did you go?
Not very much. At that time,
Isn't that
Megan,
wonderful?
I went to the 7th grade. Back then, they just didn't. I got married too young, and when I had this many kids that I'm very proud of, I said, they're going to go to school. What I didn't do, they will do. And I have learned from them so much.
That's right.
They're just wonderful.
Now, Joe, I know you didn't get to graduate because you went into the service.
Correct.
But you've got a diploma just a few months ago, right?
Right, correct.
And where did it come from, and how did that come about?
Well, I was in Southland when I went into the service, but the
And
school
Southland is a little community out from where?
from Lubbock or Slayton, on the other side of Slayton.
Between Slayton and Post.
No, correction, yes. And so the school burned down. My son Ernie was helping me get my diploma. So he said, school burned down, Dad, but I think we can get it here in Delhart. And he got it for me. So that's about it right there.
And how old were you when you got your high school diploma?
I was about 84, I guess.
That's wonderful. That's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Now you get to tell about the sons, and I'll count on my fingers about the sons to be sure you get all of them.
Okay, Joe, Bobby.
Now Joe and Bobby live in Houston. Okay.
Danny in Grand Prairie, Julian in Plano, Ernie in Delhart, Charlie in Las Cruces, Tony in the Valley, Westlaco, Freddie in Washington. Who I'm missing?
2.
Me, of course, I'm in Canyon.
Oh, yeah, Davidson Canyon. That's it? No, George is in Florida.
In Florida. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you've got them all around the country.
All over the country, right.
Now, did every one of your children graduate from Muleshoe High School?
They did.
Every one of them.
You're right.
And that's something that's wonderful. Now, how did you meet Joe Vela, Susie?
Oh, my goodness. We were, my cousin married his brother. And they never had any children, so my cousin wanted to keep me for her little girl, and my mom let me go.
And she lived where, your cousin?
She lived in Lubbock.
In Lubbock. Uh-huh.
And so I was with her. I was her little girl. I was 6 years old. And they kept him, Joe, as their little boy. He was about 7 or 8. And that's when we met.
Uh-huh.
And we were always very close. So we just grew up knowing each other until we lost track of each other. He went to the Army, and I wanted to go to school, but my father believed in working on the fields, which I didn't like. I wanted to go to school. And that's the reason that I say that what I didn't do, I wanted my children to do, to go to school and educate themselves and do what they did. And thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, for that.
Wow. I didn't know that.
David just said, well, I didn't know that. Now, tell David and everybody else, and Jeffrey, about what you used to buy for Susie when she was about 6 years of age, because you were so very rich.
Well, the first time I met Mama, we was in San Antonio, and they used to sell this big old lemon drops for 2 for a penny. And I used to go to the store with 2, 3 pennies and buy a lot of them. Then I came back and gave her some.
Do you remember that, Susie?
I remember that very well. I was very happy when he gave me candy.
Any other stories you want to tell, Joe?
No, I think we better stop it right there.
Oh, well, thank you, every one of you, David and Jeffrey, Susie and Joe Vela. This has been a real treat.